Welcome, everybody. College football week 3 is in the books, and college football week 4 is here. I'm Joe with the Game House, and today we're going to take a look at picks for college football week 4. Okay, as mentioned, we have college football week 4 picks coming up right now. We have plenty of good games to get to this week. It's been fun going along. I've been picking all the picks this year. As a reminder, we're going to go through just the main games. You can go find the rest of the picks on thegamehouse.com, but just go through the bigger games that we're going to go through with this week 4 picks video. All right, we'll start off with Friday. Wisconsin over Purdue. Purdue struggled early on in the season. New head coach, new culture, a lot of new players. Wisconsin struggled as well, but I think they can get the win on the road. NC State, Brennan Armstrong, revenge game. He ends up beating his former team. The quarterback from NC State used to go to Virginia. I think they win pretty easily. Virginia is just not quite built up that roster enough in the Tony Elliott years to really compete with some of the better teams in the ACC. Boise State over San Diego State, Air Force over San Jose State for the Mountain West picks there. Both those teams, Air Force and Boise State, could be matching up in the Mountain West Championship game later on this season. All right, we'll keep it moving here for a little bit. We have Oklahoma and Cincinnati. This is the big noon kickoff for Fox, so we'll pick it. But Oklahoma's going to win by a large margin. Cincinnati just lost to a MAC team in Miami, Ohio. It is a rival, but they hadn't lost to them since 2005. I think they have this win over Pitt that people are kind of like, oh, maybe that's a good one. But Pitt has been pretty bad. So Oklahoma really big in this one. It's exciting for Cincinnati to have a Big 12 team, their first Big 12 home game, but it's not going to end well for them. All right, next one up, we have Florida State and Clemson. I'm going Florida State on the road. Now, this one should be pretty close. Clemson's defense is really good, while Florida State has playmakers on offense and a pretty good defense. The X factor here is that Clemson's offense just can't move the ball. They can't score consistently. We'll see if that changes this week. I do think Garrett Riley's a good offensive coordinator, but how much of a say does he really have? Is Dabo saying what he wants, this Clemson offense to be is kind of the quote, or is it really Garrett Riley's offense? That remains to be seen. We're going to find out, but I got Florida State in this one. Western Kentucky and Troy, two pretty good programs who I think could win double-digit games this season. Going Troy at home here. John Summerall has done a really good job at Troy, and I think he can get the win here, even though Western Kentucky has a really good pass-happy attack. Texas A&M over Auburn. Still need to see more out of the Hugh Freeze era before we can really expect Auburn to compete in some of these bigger games. A little bit of a rivalry here with TCU and SMU. I'm going to go TCU. The loss to Colorado doesn't look quite as bad anymore, and I do think they have had time to have those transfers they brought in gel after they're, brought in pretty much a whole new roster after that championship game last year. We'll keep it moving here. Pac-12 matchup to watch here. UCLA and Utah. I'm going UCLA on the road. I do think Utah is a more physical team, but we don't know what the status of Cam Rising is. Utah's kind of banged up. They've had some close calls with teams they really shouldn't have had close calls with. If Cam Rising plays, that's great. Maybe the pick changes. But for what we know now, I'm going UCLA. I think Chip Kelly can get it done. And true freshman quarterback Dante Moore looks like a future star. Next one up, we have Ole Miss over Alabama. Going with the upset pick here. And it's not just the quarterback play for Alabama. For me, it's the offensive line play, giving up way too many sacks. I think Ole Miss can exploit that. Their defense is kind of unproven as well. But if USF is getting sacks, why can't Ole Miss get some sacks here? Also have Lane Kiffin in that offense really operating at a high level, 55 points a game. Quinshon Judkins missed last game. Let's see if he plays this week. If he plays, that could be a huge factor here. We just really need Jackson Dart to not turn the ball over, and Ole Miss can get the win there. All right, moving on to let's do BYU and Kansas, because BYU just got the big win over. Wow, it's really making me work here. BYU just got the win over Arkansas. I'm going Kansas still. I think Kansas is a similarly talented team to Arkansas. Weird to say after these two teams played in the bowl game last year. But two road games in a row for BYU. I'm not really sold on Keaton Slovis. I'll take Jalen Daniels in that Big 12, the Big 12 preseason Offensive Player of the Year, and take him to win the game. Texas Tech over West Virginia. We'll move quickly on to Colorado and Oregon. Oregon's a big favorite in this one. We know Colorado's gotten the hype. That makes plenty of sense given what they've done so far to start the season, Deion Sanders. But the offensive line play is the difference here. Oregon has a good line. Colorado doesn't look like the line's the best. Keep on moving down here. Tennessee over UTSA. Doesn't look like Frank Harris is going to play in this one. He has turf toe. I think he's questionable. But even if he does, you got to go Tennessee there. Bounce back game after their matchup with Florida last week. Another Pac-12 one to watch. Oregon State and Washington State. Going with Washington State here. They're the home team. They have some rowdy fans. Cam Ward is a guy I think that doesn't get talked about enough. He's on the West Coast. He's not on a premier team. There's also just so many Pac-12 quarterbacks. I'm going to go with Washington State. They've already beaten Wisconsin this year. I think they get another big win and maybe put themselves in a good spot in the Pac-12 for how competitive it's going to be at the end of the year. LSU, Arkansas. As mentioned, Arkansas just lost to BYU. Kind of forget about them. They're going to beat some teams maybe that you wouldn't think they beat the rest of the way, but I don't know if that team's going to be LSU. LSU really opened up a can against Mississippi State last week, and Jaden Daniels kind of found his ability to throw the ball down the field. Still interested to see how they use Harold Perkins, but they should be able to beat Arkansas at home. Let's see. There should be a couple more games we pick here. We're going to go Wyoming over App State. These are two good programs from smaller conferences, but Wyoming, beat Texas Tech at home. They're hosting App State. App State played in North Carolina close, but this one's all the way on the road. I'm going to go Wyoming to win. All right, Texas and Baylor. Going Texas, they did struggle with Wyoming last week, but as mentioned, Wyoming is pretty good, and Baylor, I think, is just a little bit farther away from the Big 12, competing in the Big 12 this year than they were a couple of years ago. Okay, we're going to keep it moving. We're going to go South Carolina over Mississippi State. Mississippi State just got run over this past week against LSU. It's not, like a definite, like they're going to lose a lot of games this year, but we'll go South Carolina. They're at home, and their offensive line has struggled. Hopefully they can get that figured out. But Spencer Rattler actually has played pretty well this year, so South Carolina at home. And then a big one at night, we have Iowa at Penn State. Now, if this was in Kinnick Stadium in Iowa, I think the pick might change, but the fact that Penn State gets them at home, I think can really help them. They do have a young quarterback. Iowa's defense is really good, but the home field advantage is too much. I do think they get the win, and Iowa's inability to score points is what's going to hold them back, as is usually the case. Ohio State and Notre Dame match up for the second straight year. This time it's at Notre Dame. Really flip-flopped on this pick. There's different things to consider. Notre Dame kind of struggled at different points with some of the teams they should have beat, but they did end up winning by a decent margin. Ohio State has a new quarterback and Kyle McCord. Their tackles haven't played that well. I'm just going with the playmaking talent on Ohio State over the playmaking talent on Notre Dame here. That's something that they've struggled with in the past, Notre Dame that is finding those good wide receivers to give their quarterbacks some weapons. And Sam Hartman's played well for Notre Dame, but Sam Hartman doesn't have Marvin Harrison Jr. and Mecca Ibuka and Travion Henderson at running back. So going to Ohio State here, do think this is going to be a fun one to watch, as it was a close game last year. Got Kansas State over UCF. Now, John Reese Plumlee's not playing in this game for UCF. That's mainly why the pick is that. But also, I want to see Kansas State. I want to see this game in particular because Kansas State just lost to Missouri. I thought that was a game they should win. Let's see what their identity is. They did lose a lot of talent in the NFL, including Deuce Vaughn. So let's see if they can bounce back here and get a win at home. UNC over Pitt, as mentioned. This line is actually closer than I thought it would be because Pitt's really played bad, but going UNC there, and if you are a gambling man, I'd take a look at that line. I believe it was like 6 points to UNC. If it's still there, that's something I'm kind of considering putting some money on. And we'll keep it going. We'll make one last pick here. We'll go USC over Arizona State. Just mainly talk about Arizona State's in a bad place right now. Can't figure out anything. They had so many interceptions and punts last game. It's hard to fathom. Kenny Dillingham has his work cut out for him. But USC gets the win. Again, Pac-12 is going to have some good games at the top, like we talked about. They're going to have some bad games at the bottom, as we saw here. So, those are my college football Week 4 picks. Let me know who you're picking in the comments below. For now, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.